I'm Joe Catalano with an AM Quincy news update for Monday, August 17th. 5 people were injured after a motor vehicle accident involving a motorcycle in Quincy on Saturday afternoon. Quincy first responders were dispatched to the intersection of East Quantum Street and Ocean Street in North Quincy just after 4 p.m. on reports of an accident. Once on scene, crews found 2 vehicles involved in the collision, one of which was a motorcycle. The 27-year-old male operator and his 25-year-old female passenger were both taken to a Boston hospital for treatment of possible life-threatening injuries. The male operator is said to be in critical condition. The female is said to be stable. The occupants of the car, a 43-year-old Quincy woman and 2 children, were also taken to a Boston hospital for treatment of minor injuries. The cause of that crash is still under investigation. MBTA police are investigating an incident in Quincy where a pit bull owner allegedly left the area after his dog bit a passenger. This happened last Thursday at the Quincy Center T station at about 5 p.m. Emergency medical services treated a man after the pit bull bit him, breaking his skin. The owner of the dog fled despite being asked to remain on scene. Authorities did release a video showing the dog owner and his dog inside the train station and are asking anybody that recognized them to call MBTA police. Early in-person voting for the September 1st state primary begins in Quincy this coming Saturday. City Clerk Nicole Crispo explains that voters may cast ballots at City Hall this weekend and all of next week. The last day to request a mail-in ballot for the primary is August 25th. Crispo says over 5,000 Quincy voters have already requested a mail-in ballot. Crispo is predicting a 20 to 25% voter turnout for the primary on September 1st. It looks like Quincy may be getting some federal funding after all to complete a seawall repair project on Howe's Neck. State Representative Taki Chan says he attended a recent meeting with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which indicated that it would provide over $500,000 in federal grant money to repair the seawall along Manat Avenue to Nut Island. FEMA had previously said that it was rescinding over $7 million in grant money to Massachusetts, including over $500,000 for the Quincy project. Chan says Senators Markey and Warren arranged for the meeting with FEMA, and he's now confident that the Quincy funds will be approved. Interfaith Social Services of Quincy recently inducted 29 of their volunteers into their Maddie Lang Volunteer Hall of Fame. A volunteer appreciation night was held at the Quincy Sons of Italy earlier this month to honor the volunteers and also to honor Cohane Funeral Home as Interfaith's 2026 Community Partner of the Year for their outstanding commitment to volunteerism. The evening included dinner and a lively round of trivia. Each year, Interfaith recognizes volunteers who've served regularly for at least a year. The award is named after Maddie Lang, who gave decades of his life serving Interfaith clients. Interfaith has over 165 volunteers who serve in their food pantry, thrift shop, or on the board of directors. City of Quincy wants to recognize so-called legacy businesses in the city that have been in business for more than 25 years. City is launching the Legacy Business Program as a way to honor long-standing small business owners for their contribution to the fabric of the community. Businesses that have been open in Quincy for more than 25 years and are not part of national or regional chain or franchise may be nominated to be part of a city registry to recognize the businesses and provide them with marketing promotions. A business can nominate themselves or be nominated. Nominations will be accepted from August 19th through September 21st by contacting the Quincy Planning Department. Well, it's beautiful weather for two big outdoor events in Quincy this past weekend. Hundreds of people enjoyed the 70s, 80s, and 90s dance party on the Hancock Adams Common in Quincy Center on Saturday with live music and food and refreshments. And thousands crowded Coddington Street in Quincy Center yesterday for the 39th annual August Moon Festival. Attendees enjoyed the lion dance, live performers, live music, and a wide variety of food and beverages. It was even perfect weather for the other activities, including live music on Wollaston Beach, the Quincy Farmers Market in Wollaston yesterday, and even the Friends of the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater show this past Friday night. Well, three members of the Massachusetts congressional delegation were in Plymouth to get an up-close look at the ICE detention facility there. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, Congressman Jim McGovern, and Congressman Stephen Lynch arrived at the Plymouth County Correctional Facility unannounced on Friday morning. The Plymouth County facility houses civil detainees in ICE custody in Massachusetts. They said the visit is to provide transparency while checking the welfare and well-being of detainees being held inside the facility, adding that many of them were in the process of becoming U.S. citizens when they were detained. Federal law allows Congress to conduct unannounced oversight visits of ICE detention facilities. The prosecution could rest its case this week in Lindsay Clancy's murder trial, according to a legal expert. As the trial enters its fourth week, 36-year-old Clancy has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder in the deaths of the three children, 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan, in their Duxbury home in January of 2023. Prosecutors say Clancy planned the murders before faking a suicide attempt. The defense has argued even though Clancy admits to killing the children, she should not be held criminally responsible. Her attorney says Clancy was over-medicated and suffering from postpartum psychosis. Last week, prosecutors attempted to use electronic materials to lay out their theory that Clancy premeditated killing her three children, but in cross-examination, the defense used the same searches to highlight their argument that Clancy was over-medicated, failed by the medical system, and experiencing postpartum psychosis at the time. Entering week 4 of the trial today, more than 70 witnesses have been called by the prosecution. A full week of testimony is expected this week, with prosecutors likely calling their own medical and psychiatric experts to the stand before potentially resting and giving the case to Clancy's defense team. Democratic primary voters favor Senator Ed Markey over Congressman Seth Moulton by nearly 2-1 in Massachusetts' U.S. Senate contest, while also giving the incumbent a substantial advantage on trust, honesty, and progressive ideology. It's according to a new poll. Ahead of the Massachusetts primary election and the final debate between Markey and Moulton this Thursday, the UMass Amherst WCVB poll found Markey has the support of 60% of likely primary voters, while Moulton has the support of 32%. It is a massive shift from a University of New Hampshire poll back in July that showed Markey's lead was just 6%. Among those who said they would support Markey in the new UMass poll, the trait they identified most often was his progressivism. Additionally, the likely primary voters in the poll described Markey as the more liberal candidate. The poll is based on responses from 800 registered voters collected between August 5th and August 12th. Of those respondents, 445 were self-identified as Democratic primary voters. The overall margin of error for the poll is 4.4%. The margin of error among Democratic primary voters is 5.8%. While one of Moulton's central campaign arguments is that he represents a younger generation of leadership, and the poll found he is perceived to be more energetic, the results indicate that Democrats give Markey credit for his experience, honesty, intelligence, and work ethic. An airline beverage cart being pushed down Newbury Street in Boston may look a bit strange, but not for retired United Airlines flight attendant Paul Veneto. The 67-year-old Milton resident has begun his trek to Ground Zero in New York City, better known as Polly's Push. Veneto will travel 220 miles through 60 cities and towns over the course of 28 days. He said that each step he'll be thinking of the lives lost during the 9/11 and everybody who has been impacted. Polly's Push began in 2021, 20 years after the attacks. Since that day, Veneto has traveled the path of each flight. This year marks 25 years since the 9/11 attacks, and Veneto will have officially pushed the cart a total of 1,000 miles. He wanted to ensure that dozens of communities were involved in finishing out the journey and has called it Everyone's Push. You can find Veneto's schedule online if you'd like to participate in Polly's Push. A check of business news this morning, and stocks are down. The Dow lost 107 points. The Nasdaq dropped 73, and the S&P fell 13. Stocks are mixed in Europe and Asia. The dollar fell, the euro rose, oil is at $88 a barrel. Sports: Red Sox lose to the Pirates in Pittsburgh 8-3. They're back home tonight at 7 o'clock for a series with the Diamondbacks. The National Weather Service forecast. For today, some morning rain and then afternoon clouds, a high of 74. Tonight, cloudy, maybe a shower, low of 66. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy and a high around 80. Wednesday, sunny at a high of 86. And some thunderstorms possible Thursday, high of 84. For the boater, waves 2 feet, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots, and a high tide at 3:33 this afternoon. Sunrise at 5:53, sets at 7:42. I'm Joe Catalano with an AM Quincy news update for Monday, August 17th.